Well, the Biden administration could end the occupation of Palestine tomorrow. They could have a Palestinian state while we're doing this live stream. All they have to do is say no more spare parts for your F-16s, no more F-35s, and it's over.
Well, we are enabling. They would not be able to do this without the intelligence we provide, without the ammunition that we provide, without the weapons we provide.
So what this does is it enables the Israelis to conduct their ethnic cleansing, to begin this campaign to clear Gaza, as well as all the support that goes into the bombing campaign. Certainly the bombs are coming from the U.S. The planes came from the U.S. It's all subsidized by American taxpayer money.
Israel could not do this without full support from the United States. We are the primary people to blame.
Since there is no appetite for U.S. military entering wars, we have found these proxy wars to enter, thereby enriching the military-industrial complex at the expense of the American public.
And the only thing that allows them to get away with violating every other international norm when it comes to this stuff is American protection. So if America would just butt out, they would have to figure out a better way to proceed.
Because Israel its occupation depends entirely on its direct line to Washington. And Biden won't do that. And Tony Blinken won't do that because Tony Blinken comes from a long line of Israel lobbyists.
And in a diplomatic effort, such as last week, the United States being the lone nation to vote against a ceasefire. I mean, none of this is possible without the United States' support. And so all of us as Americans are directly involved in this campaign of ethnic cleansing.
The United States of America supports this ongoing war crime. But it's not as though we just discovered it on October 7th. The basic principle of collective punishment came out of a 2006 doctrine, the Dahiyat Doctrine. Dahiyat is a suburb of West Beirut that was leveled by the Israelis as part of their collective punishment of the Lebanese people because Hezbollah was embarrassing the Israeli army during that short 33-day war in August of 2006. So they collectively punished the Lebanese people. Since 2008, Israel's been doing this, 2008, 2010, 2014, 2018, 2020, 2021, collectively punishing the people of Gaza.
I think we have to accept the fact that the United States has gotten through a lot of unjustified wars ever since World War II, and has killed millions of people in countries that were no threat to the United States, where there was no casus belli justifying what took place.
You know, as a former U.S. Marine, a former member of the military, or someone who was part of the State Department as well, I am embarrassed and ashamed at how the U.S. military and the diplomatic corps of the United States is going along with this ethnic cleansing. This is such a stain.
I have to tell you that for my country to be involved in supporting genocide is a little too much for this guy who served in our armed forces and used to be still is a big patriot.
But what I would like to at least see is some kind of understanding on the part of the public, or a part of the public that is interested in what the United States does and how it does it, that this was awful. We've come to that understanding about what we did to Iraq. We've come to that understanding about what we did to Afghanistan. You might throw Libya into that pile, and we're trying to do the same thing to Syria. We've done awful things in these places, but you can read about it now. People are looking back on it and saying, look, these things were wrong, and they continue to be wrong. So maybe there will be a learning curve. I'm not too optimistic about that, but I would love to think that actually the United States, the country I love, the people I love, will learn from their mistakes.
Right. The only way that Israel can behave this way is because of the moral hazard of American support. Right. The international law says they have to get all their settlers out of the West Bank. Right. UN Security Council resolutions dating back since the 1967 wars say you have to withdraw everybody out of the occupied territories. You can't do that. It's a war crime.
I would go one step farther. The U.S. is not tolerating it. It's enabling it. Without U.S. armed and political support, Israel would stop this genocide. Now, I use genocide advisedly, okay? Look at that clip now. What is Blinken saying? He's saying, okay, we told the Israelis that before they resume the genocide tomorrow, they ought to make sure that there's some sort of plan to make sure they don't kill too many civilians. I mean, hello, it's like having a humanitarian pause in the genocide.
And it's tragic. And more than 10,000 people have been killed, civilian, innocent people in Gaza. And of those, more than 4,000 children. And another hospital was bombed today, from what I'm reading on the wires. And it's an absolute disaster. And they're besieging a Gaza Strip of 2 million people, cutting off water, food, fuel. Of course, these are war crimes.
But this is just another iteration of the United States for purposes that are obscure, that are corrupt, are craven, or just related to domestic political concerns, either conducting, enabling, or going along with atrocity after atrocity. And this is the latest one here in Palestine. And
if it wasn't for the Americans, the Europeans also, I think, would back off their support for the worst of what Israel has in mind here.
It is imperative on the United States to try to talk some sanity to Israel. Like if you're dealing with a family member who's a drug addict, who's on the downward slope, you intervene to save them. We need to intervene to save Israel from itself. If we do not, I think Israel is facing its own destruction.
The connection here between all these different wars, whether it be Ukraine or whether it be Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria, it's happening in Palestine, is that this is all coming from a militarized U.S. foreign policy that just brings tremendous amounts of harm to people, destroys entire people, and it doesn't make the United States any safer. It makes us less safe.